Welcome to the David Spisak Show. I am, as you may have guessed, David Spisak, but more importantly, I'm joined by Joe Neiman, and Joe is the founder of Dealer Club. And I had, Joe, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you got a very busy schedule. Thanks for taking the time to join me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, David. It's great to see you again.
You as well. The first time that we really connected, honestly, in all those years that you were ACV, obviously that was not on the side of the fence where I spent a lot of time on the auction side. And my first real opportunity to connect with you was during NADA with that huge announcement where Cars Commerce, you had agreed to join Cars Commerce, and Dealer Club was acquired formally by Cars Commerce, thereby creating what I think is the most incredible ecosystem, most powerful ecosystem on earth if somebody's really interested in going head to head with the best used car operators on the planet. Because, the one thing they didn't have was the exit strategy, Joe. You have Cars Commerce, you have the best marketplace on earth, you have AccuTrade, which is the single greatest tool when it comes to acquisition and appraisals, and being able to go head to head with the Carvana and CarMaxes of the world. But they didn't have that first day exit strategy. So it was a really cool way to meet you. And since then, you've clearly been up to a whole lot. And I want to get into all of that because week after week, month after month, people keep talking about used cars, which is super exciting. It used to be the other department. Now it's kind of the star of the show, which is cool. Before I go there, Joe, would you indulge me? Would you allow me to kind of have you turn the Wayback Machine on and please help us figure out, I don't know, the story, and I'm super curious. How did you get to this point of creating Dealer Club? How did you first get into the car business? What did that journey look like?
Yeah, well, sure. I will. I'll go back and turn on the time machine here. Let me start by saying, though, real quick, and I mean this sincerely. What Cars Commerce has put together, with Dealer Club being a piece of it, really is an end-to-end solution, and I think you hit the nail on the head. And dealers are looking for that, and dealers need to continue to look for the support. Dare I say vendors, but the companies that are out there that truly actually want to support them. They're not predatory at all, and they just want to see their customers and partners do better, grow, navigate this complex landscape. And I'm really proud to be at Cars Commerce. It feels like the right place for us to have brought Dealer Club. We had no intentions of selling it. It's just what ended up happening through some organic conversations with Alex Vetter and the rest of the team. And it's a perfect fit, and we're proud to be a part of that. If we go way back in time, I've always been a car guy. And when I was in high school, I started flipping cars out of my parents' driveway. Got access to go to car auctions through a friend's dad who was a rinky-dink little used car dealer. And I really just fell in love with the auctions. The excitement of it, the high risk, high reward, it really resonated with me. But I was a retail guy. I mean, even when I was small, as a little used car dealer, I was selling cars on eBay. And this is like 2004 kind of vintage. And what I figured out is that if I take a car and I represent it really, really well, and I build a lot of trust in the description, in the photos, I could get consumers to be willing to buy that car, send a certified check, wire the money across the country. We'd put the car on a transporter and they'd receive it and they'd go and give me 5-star review on the car, and they were happy. And this, if you recall, Texas Direct.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were
Huge.
They were like, yeah. So I was a
legendary
mini version of Texas Direct. But we set up a little used car factory and basically grew it. I grew it to the point where I was doing about 40, 50 retail cars a month. And it was a good run. Really just a little self-funded effort that I kind of kept reinvesting my little proceeds back into, and but had a turn rate in the low 20s. And we were just grinding like so many thousands of car dealers are out there today. So that was the early version. I went to work at a new car store after that because I closed my dealership Just headwinds. There were more people getting into the online space. It was tough to differentiate. Never had a bad year, but I was in my early 20s and wanted to see what the other side of the fence looked like. I went to work in a new car store. I didn't stay there very long, but I got a really unique view into what I would consider the other side of the equation, and that is the folks that are in large ways bringing cars to the auction. I was always a shopper at the auction, and so as a small independent dealer, you always seem to think, incorrectly so, that the folks standing on the auction block are just minting money with every car that rolls across the block that they sell.
Yeah.
And obviously I've grown up and I've learned and I got to see that that's really not the case. And so it put me on this trajectory, if you will, to try and solve some of these problems. I was always a fan of the physical auction, but there were issues. There still are. And there were also issues with how folks appraise trades and how they mess with that ACV number. And so the genesis of ACV Auctions, which was my first foray into online auctions, was to really try and remove the question, right? Remove like the unknown of what is this car going to cash for. So the earliest version of ACV Auctions, which is not really where it ended up finding its traction, was the live 20-minute auction before you even take the car in on trade. And that is to say, take a few pictures, write an honest description of the car, and put it out to the marketplace, and let's see if we can get a hard bid so you're not guessing. And if you want to over-allow on the car, over-allow. If you want to try and steal it from the consumer, I'm not telling you what to do, but at least you're informed. Because I couldn't believe the wild swings from ACV to actual ACV. What they appraised the car for, and then 2-3 weeks later when it crosses the block was there was a lot of bloodshed there that I didn't think needed to be there. ACV obviously, I know I'm rambling here, but grew into a real monster, and just so proud of that company and everyone there. They've really taken that thing to an incredible level.
I totally get it. Now, at what point did the next thought enter your brain that became a dealer club?
Sure. I think the next thought was always kind of there, if you will, and it's just I got to see a lot at ACV, and you learn from all these experiences. And all I'm trying to do with Dealer Club and all we're trying to do is continue to make the customer experience the best it can possibly be. So the things that, the way the platform is set up, where the accountability falls, how the customers utilize the platform, it's all what I believe is in the best interest of the customers, right? When you do a marketplace, when you create a marketplace, you have to have happy customers. That's like the liquidity or the grease, if you will, that makes transactions possible. Without that, there's too much friction, there's too much fear, and people don't engage.
So, and you said something a couple times, and I love that you hyper-focus on the client, right? So somebody would think that Dealer Club, right, which is really something that is super unique in many ways, and I'll get into that in a second because I have some questions. But it's about, everybody's trying to figure out the acquisition side. You always hear about the acquisitions always gets like 95% of the oxygen out there. It's relatively rare that you hear anybody talking about the exit side, right? So, and it's interesting because any incredibly profitable, successful used car operator out there understands very well you must have both. Are acquisitions important? 100%. Inventory dictates your outcome in terms of sales. But when you talk about the end, that exit strategy, that's what dictates your outcome financially, for a lot of stores. And nobody was talking about it. It's kind of like you always see those memes about these guys with huge upper chests and they've got biceps the size of my legs, right? But they always say, I think I'm going to skip leg day today, right? So it's kind of like, I feel like that leg day, or stretching day is the exit side. So I think it's remarkable that you came up with that. But I really love the fact that you happen to mention the client. It's got to be what's great for the client. What's cool is that this is a situation to where the client, you could be referring to the end client, obviously for the dealer, but also for the client, the dealer. And it turns out that this exit strategy you've created is really serves both of their best interests, doesn't it?
We absolutely believe so. And that's what we've aimed to do is we want both sides, the buyer and the seller, feeling like they've won and that they don't have to fear it. They don't have to
they're not on opposite sides.
Hold back or anything like that. They can just do business the way they want to do business and do business the right way. It's a funny thing. There's this overshadowing kind of gray cloud over auctions, and you hear it when dealers talk about, oh, you shouldn't buy any cars at auction. That's total nonsense. Or that selling cars at auction is somehow like a failed outcome, or a failed outcome, like things didn't go right if that's the path you chose to go and sell those cars at the auction. I think that's just a bunch of baloney. Like, we really need to look at auctions as a vibrant marketplace where you go to trade inventory that doesn't work well and acquire other inventory that does work well. And I think we all actually know that. We've just cast this shadow over it because there's things about the process that are painful. The fees cost too much. There's too many bad experiences with arbitrations, which we can get into. But I think, drilling down and understanding what the root cause of those arbitrations are is really, really important, because they don't need to happen. It's this kind of nonsense notion of all the bad cars go to auction. It's not the case. I bought thousands of cars and I've witnessed millions of cars get sold at auction. There's great cars that go to auction, as there should be. There's also junky cars, and that's okay. A trash can is a trash can of a car, and nobody needs to deny that, but you also don't need to put lipstick on it.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem that's happened over time is auctions have almost, I would say unintentionally or unknowingly, or not fully understanding the consequences of their actions, have leaned so far toward the seller to try and secure that supply of inventory. And that's just a short-sighted way of doing business. It's not necessarily wrong, but if you don't take care of the folks that are buying the cars, the integrity of the marketplace degrades. No. And then when the integrity of the marketplace degrades, then the cars don't bring as much money, so you're actually not bringing the service that you intended to bring to your sellers. You can't just abuse the buyers endlessly and think you can uphold a quality marketplace. I'm not pointing to any marketplace in particular. It's really a rather blanket statement across the entire universe of wholesale auctions as far as where I think the miss has kind of, where things have gone astray.
I think that, Joe, that, we hear all the time about how customer expectations, customers that are buying cars, their expectations have shifted massively over the years. And once a customer's expectation rises, it never goes back. Once somebody learns a superior way of doing things, they will never go back to the old way, right? Instacart, Amazon, Uber, right? Nobody's begging to go back into a taxi again. So I think it's one of those things, honestly, to where once somebody starts to get bit, let's be honest, once you have a bad experience at a restaurant or a business or an auction, one time you go, that's interesting, I'll note that. Second time, okay. Third time, fourth time, you're starting saying, okay, you only have to beat me in the head 7 times before I figure this out. It's not worth the brain damage. The other thing is that as a dealer, it's a tough deal. I don't believe, I'm not anti-auction. I believe dealers should use auctions, but I think they should use auctions and not auctions using them, right? So in other words, if you're going there to buy cars to fill in holes so that you can have ideal inventory, great. But if you're going there thinking that's going to be 60, 70, 80% of your inventory, right, and then you're going to bring it back and somehow be able to mark it up $4 or $5 grand, that's probably not going to be a happy ending for you. But the other challenge to me is that as a dealer, I'm not in a position to unilaterally fix something, right? The auction kind of takes this thing where, as you said, they desperately want the car, but once they have the car and it sells, like, dude, it's not my car, right? If the CR report is bad or dodgy, yeah, it's not mine, it's the dealer's. But then you call the dealer and the dealer's like, nope, it's the auction. So if you're the person buying the car, it's not very awesome. I'm curious, from the time that we met on that really huge day when you and I and Alex were there, and you had that big announcement at NADA that kicked off the show, I'm curious, this has been a really busy year for you, right? A lot to do, a lot to assimilate culturally, technology-wise. I'm curious, what is new for dealers out there? What is new with Dealer Club, and what kind of new features or big updates should dealers know about, especially not just dealers that have never heard of Dealer Club, but maybe dealers that jumped in the first month or two? What's different about it?
It's a great question. So the platform has matured nicely. Let me just back up real quick and give a real high level before we lose sight of that. Dealer Club is the first and only reputation-based wholesale auction. And so what that means is the sellers and the buyers, you see who everyone is. It's fully transparent. You can get a quick understanding of who's really there to do quality business and maybe who's not. And what it's leading to, what it's driving, is better outcomes for better actors. The folks that want to do good quality business, sell a lot of volume, describe the cars accurately, they are getting tremendous attention, tremendous action on their cars, and the cars are bringing a premium, and the buyers keep showing up. So that's what we've set out to create. The beautiful thing is it's working quite nicely. Since joining Cars Commerce, the integration opportunities are really, really robust. We have a plugin directly into AccuTrade. So now dealers who are appraising cars, they can take those pictures, they can take that condition report that they've created and very quickly make that car marketable in the Dealer Club auction platform. So no need to just kind of book in the car and then wait to figure out which auction you're going to send it to. You can have that car sold by the end of the day. We've also built, and we're really, really proud of this, what we call a frontline wholesale opportunity. And that is essentially, and we'll get there rather quickly, but really all the cars that are on cars.com marketplace, millions of cars. Some percentage of those cars are going to be wholesaled. And again, that's not a failure. That's not a tragedy. That's a totally fine outcome for an aged car or just a misfit car. If it doesn't work at the store, the best thing you can do is admit that early on, or if you don't have expertise in selling that car, sell it to someone else who does, and move on and restock that valuable parking spot and reallocate the cash into core cars that work well for your marketplace. We've built this platform that allows for near instantaneous transactions to occur on really all those cars at a wholesale level. And obviously, Dealer Club, being a true auction, handles the titles, handles the payments, holds these deals together. But David, if you're looking for a car for a customer, now you have a direct way to go and source those cars with really no trouble, no drama, frictionless. And we're really excited. That's starting to grow. And here's the other reason why I think that's just so valuable. The used car market is always in a state of flux. It's peaks and valleys and, boom and bust. And I think we are absolutely moving into a valley. We're moving into a little bit of a bust. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's going to get a little harder. The folks that are not on top of their game are going to struggle more, and some may even be weeded out entirely. And so when you're going into that sort of a season in business, you just need to have every possible tool at your disposal. And if we look back in time, there was a company called Car Offer, and their timing was impeccable. Whether that was luck or just seeing the future, either way, they nailed it because they rolled that thing out right before COVID, and dealers were so desperate for inventory that it really was a tremendous tool for a lot of dealers for a long time. It's kind of, obviously now it's ceased, but I actually think we're going back into a season where a platform like that can start to become valuable again. And that's because there's going to be dealers who look at this kind of tightening, this constriction in the industry that's coming, And there's going to be those who just need to access more inventory, and there's other dealers that are going to need to just have more ways to get a decent outcome of getting off of a car. And that's, I think, what this cars.com integration really allows, is that kind of, again, frictionless way to wholesale out of a car or to wholesale acquire a car, and know that it was an easy transaction, and just kind of keep things moving. I think every day is precious. Every day counts. Dealers need to be obsessed about turn time, and having the right inventory on their lot from the start. So I would say those are two major milestones that we've accomplished in a really short time here at Cars Commerce. So our team's been... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and you helped me out here, because I wanted to ask, now that you're part of the Cars Commerce core platform, what role does Dealer Club play in the broader ecosystem? You touched on that. I want to now ultimately move in a direction where we talk about the other elements within the Cars Commerce ecosystem: Dealer Inspire, Cars.com, AccuTrade, the marketplace. Before I do that, though, there's so many. It's interesting talking to you. There's so many parallels to the acquisition side. And you talked about you got to have options, and the same thing on the acquisition side. You almost have to have that omni-channel approach to acquisition. You can't just do one way and find yourself being consistently successful. On the exit side, one of the other things that really strikes me is I as you were speaking, I couldn't help but, you're going to think I'm nuts. I'm thinking of produce, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, well, wait a minute. If I'm in the produce business and I could either buy the produce through a distributor, now some farm is going to send it to the distributor. The distributor is going to, harvest it. It's going to take it to its distribution center. Then it's going to, a week later, 2 weeks later, it's going to send it out to the market. Then I end up with it. Or I could just go to the farm, right? And I go to the farm, and that speed matters in terms of how fresh that produce is, right? Or what quality produce. I can't help but make that parallel. Am I crazy? Because I'm thinking I could send the car to the auction, Joe. But I think a lot of dealers don't send it to the auction because they already know how the movie's going to end. They know it's going to be bloodshed. But if they now think, well, wait a minute, hold on, I don't have to do that. And I'm not, saying auctions are terrible or anything, but I'm just saying if there's a better way, there is a better way. And it sounds like the better way is, well, instead of hoping, let's try this car on for 2, 3, 4 weeks. We know how that's going to end. It's not going to end very well. But what if I have an exit strategy day one? I don't have the auction fees. I don't have to transport the car. I don't have to let it sit there for 2, 3, 4 weeks. I have something I could put it into Dealer Club if I'm understanding correctly. And if I've got a good reputation, especially, chances are that car is going to move pretty quickly without those costs and without waiting for all that time. Am I on point?
You're 100% on point. I mean, lot rot is a very real thing, right? Cars go stale, just like produce does. And so
on the wholesale side and the retail side, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. There's really no difference. That's kind of the thing, that's what's always been such a surprise to me.
Me too.
When I spend all this time in dealerships, is they put all this effort, tremendous effort, millions in marketing into the retail cars, and for good reason. I get it. And the goodwill and the things they do in their community and the salespeople development and the processes and all this stuff. And then there's wholesale, which nobody wants to admit to, but it's somewhere around 20 to 30% of the inventory, actual VINs that move through a dealer's books. And it's just, don't look at it, don't touch it, it's behind the curtain. We have it handled, don't ask questions about it, we can't let anybody see it, salespeople can't know about it. It's like the just ugly stepchild, and it shouldn't be that way. This is, they're still cars, and a car, in my mind, when I think about a car, I don't care what car it is, the value of that car is the combination of the VIN itself, right, and how that VIN is represented, as well as the reputation of the person or entity that's bringing that car to market. That's
retail or wholesale.
Retail or wholesale, yeah. Right? Like, think about a watch, right? Like, you and I both have watches on. Would you rather? What's the value of a watch if you see it at a pawn shop, a Rolex at a pawn shop versus a Rolex at a Rolex dealer.
Yep.
Two different values, right? What's the value of a TV, flat screen TV in a back alley, off the back of a truck versus a TV at Best Buy? Two different values. The same exact commodity. It's worth two different dollar amounts in the real fair market based on not condition, not anything about it, simply who's bringing it to market. And so that's why if dealers are going to spend all this money on the front of the house to try and justify the prices that they're getting for the car's retail, why wouldn't they put that same effort in on the wholesale side? And then this is the major disconnect. Auctions have gone in and basically kind of effectively brainwashed everyone to think that, oh, wholesale cars are bad cars. They all have problems. You don't want to deal with arbitration. Something might break on that car. The truth is, from where I sit, there's not that much to fear about a wholesale car. You call the thing for what it is. Honestly, David, if you just drive a car a mile down the road and back, which takes all of 5 minutes, and you're a decent car guy or gal like myself, 90% of what's good and not good about that car.
Agreed.
You start it up, you let it run for a minute, you rev it up a little bit, you put it in drive, you put it in reverse. Is there a delay? Does it slam? You run the AC, you put it into four-wheel drive. I can run a checklist on a car in a minute. It's not that hard, right? We've made this out to be some secret ninja skill that requires all this technology and AI. It doesn't. The people on the ground aren't doing that. They're actually walking the car and getting on their hands and knees and looking underneath it and taking it for a quick test drive and truly ruling out 95% of the problem.
Well,
and then if you can go and tell that story, I know I'm rambling here, but if you can go and tell that story to a base of buyers who trusts you and sees that you're out here to do good business, not bad business, based on how you've treated other dealers like them in the past, the car's worth a premium because you've removed all the fear and risk and doubt.
I was thinking about another analogy, and you mentioned in your early days, you started selling cars on eBay, right? And all of us, most of us have bought something on eBay at some point. And I don't know about anybody else, but I suspect they're similar to me. My son's a Lego fanatic, and sometimes he likes these Legos that are out of circulation. He's killing me, this kid. But he's such a good guy. Just got his, my 9-year-old just got his black belt degree, a black belt on Saturday. And so both him and his brother have earned that. And so when they do something, big, hey, we want to reward you with something. Oh, I want a Lego. Okay, well, of course he doesn't find one of the Legos that's in the store. I want this one from 1976, right? And you go, well, where the heck am I going to find that? eBay. So you go into eBay and you think, okay, I don't know these people from a hole in the ground, man. But what I do know is that little parentheses that says they've sold, 8,567 with a 4.9 rating. That means something to your point, right? Whether you buy something in a back alley, you buy some from some dude in some city you've never heard of in eBay. But if this dude's got, this rock star rating, and I think it's, again, it's similar, right? So if I don't know what's going to happen at the auction. I just know it's going to be bloody in most cases. But if I'm buying a wholesale car from a dealer that's got that fantastic reputation, I can put my head on the pillow that night and know I got a good car, right? And likewise, if I'm selling a car, they know they're going to get a solid car faster, they're going to get it cheaper, and it's going to be less, red tape. Car's going to probably be in the front line a lot faster. It's a pretty cool thing. I was going to kind of jump over and, touch on the fact that I mentioned at the outset of this that, this acquisition really helped solve what had been unsolved, which is, okay, great, you acquired a car. Okay, you tried to retail the car, or maybe it wasn't the right ideal inventory. What do you do with it? So everybody sits around with it and tries to figure it out for 2, 3, 4 weeks. Meanwhile, the car depreciates and it hurts the dealership's bottom line. You figured out something that now Cars Commerce acquired, and they have essentially completed the circle, right? So it's kind of like, okay, well, they've got the pre-tail side, right? They got the marketplace. They've got Dealer Inspire. They've got AccuTrade. If somebody wants to just massively increase appraisals, which I believe is the key to acquiring more cars. And now you have Dealer Club. So how is exactly Dealer Club integrated? You'd mentioned AccuTrade with that integration, but is there any other integrations either in place now or coming?
Yeah, so the AccuTrade integration absolutely exists, as does that Cars Marketplace integration. Okay. So if you're a dealer on Dealer Club, you're signed up for Dealer Club, which takes all of 15 minutes to do, and is no charge. No auction should charge you to sign up. But if you're signed up, all of your inventory, retail inventory that lives on cars.com, can be actionable on Dealer Club. It doesn't have to be, but you can say, hey, this car is getting to be 75 days. I'm just going to grab it from an inventory feed, push a couple buttons, all the pictures pull over, the description pulls over, and it's a retail ready car. And if you've got a decent rating on the platform already, there's really nothing to fear. Add a little more sizzle about the car and list it and sell it. So again, the car doesn't need to leave the lot. You don't need to schedule an inspection. You don't need to pay a platform. In fact, with Dealer Club, we pay you to sell cars.
Explain how that works, because that's a very foreign concept, right? It's a very contradictory. That would just make somebody's head spin around. Like, I'm sorry, what do you mean you pay us to work with Dealer Club?
Yeah, so we truly pay the dealer to sell cars on the platform. We realize that this is a little bit of work to list a car, right? So the approach we've taken is we're a lean model. These other auction companies have thousands of inspectors out there driving around, paying the mileage, paying the health insurance for these folks. It's a fine model, but if we can cut cost out, we can keep those dollars in the dealers' pockets. So we really just have a model that allows for the dealers to list their cars, whether directly from their cars inventory feed, or if it's a true wholesale car that just came in, they just use the app, 15 minutes, take the pictures, write a quick description on it the best they can, as accurately as they can. They don't have to guarantee the car, to the last 100,000 miles. It's a very simple description of the car. And when they sell the car, we pay them $250.
So wait, it doesn't cost them anything to list it, and then when they sell it, you pay them $250?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, and it's because we have a lean model. I mean, look, we're collecting more than that on the buy side. Our buy fees are still less than the competition, but because we don't have a, dare I say, bloated organization, there's just more money in the ecosystem, and I want to reward, our vision is to reward sellers for doing good quality business on this platform.
So you don't have all the legacy expense, the brick and mortar heavy expense on that side, the fixed expenses on that side, and that allows you to run a very lean operation, which leaves enough margin for you to share that margin essentially with your dealer clients.
Nailed it. Exactly.
Very cool. Okay, so let's jump over to another area if we can. So you have said previously the goal of Dealer Club is to make auctions operate more fairly and create even a more vibrant marketplace than exists today. Now, I want to preface this by saying one other thing about the auctions I think that has changed fundamentally forever. You have got, 5, 10, 15 years ago, when you were doing this, we didn't have these monster players. You've got these huge publicly traded companies, right? You got CarMax, you got Carvana, you got Echo Park, you've got AutoNation USA, you've got some very big dealer groups in and of themselves that are private. And some of these organizations buy so many cars at the auction, Joe, let's be honest, they don't have the same deal, right, as auction fees, right? And they get to be preemptive, and they got proxies everywhere. This is making it harder for the typical dealer, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 store dealership to be able to compete on that side at the auction anyways, isn't it? So when you talk about a more vibrant auction, you're not saying, hey, don't go to the auction ever. But what you are saying is, well, wait a minute. what if we can make it better by opening up the auction marketplace, make it more vibrant, and give dealers choice that they don't have today? And it's almost interesting, just like CarMax and Carvana is trying to buy cars out of consumers' driveways before they even go to look for a car. You're almost doing the same thing, but you're doing it before that car ending up in an auction where it's not going to be as favorable for the buyer or the seller. Let's be honest. Is that fair?
That's totally fair. And I mean, the simplest advice I would give to any dealer is you got to try new things. You just have to try new things. I mean, I've always been an innovator, I guess, for the past decade or so. And the amount of resistance to change, I mean, you know this too, but it's fascinating. People they dig their heels in, and they've got every reason why this platform won't work and the last platform won't work. But you've just got to put all that aside, and you've just got to try these things because they do work. And first mover advantage, I think, is huge. I mean, we're a newer platform. If you want to get established as a highly rated seller on this platform and reap the rewards of that, like, the time is yesterday to go and do that. Why wait for everyone else to come in and validate that, it actually is a really good platform, And we saw that the last time around too. People would fight tooth and nail, and then eventually they'd come around. It's like, oh, why didn't we start this sooner? It's like, well, man, you got to look in the mirror. I don't.
It's kind of like the people that always thought about going onto YouTube but didn't. Thought about doing a podcast but didn't. Thought about buying Bitcoin but didn't. Right? Thought about going on social media, but I'm going to wait to see if it's a fad or blow over 5 or 10 years. It just seems like everybody oftentimes is so hesitant to jump in. And I get it in some instances, especially if it takes big resources or costs, or you got to add staffing, right? Some people want to do a buying center, but you got to add staff. May work, may not work. The thing that's interesting about this, there's really no risk. In fact, to me, there's risk reversal, isn't there? I mean, I'm not paying anything to sign up. I'm not paying anything to buy a car. I'm not paying anything to sell a car, or I'm not paying anything to sell my car, rather. So it's just like there is no risk whatsoever. And to your point, boy, if you and I could go back in time and be that dude that has 10,000 ratings in eBay, right, inside with the 5 stars, it's like you and I wouldn't be talking right now, right? It's kind of crazy. So for any dealer on there, I think it makes all the sense in the world for them to jump in. You have dealers already, I think I've spoken to a couple, who not only buy cars and use that as one of their chief sources, but they'll buy cars and then make the cars even better and then flip the car, right? It's crazy. So it's kind of like it's even created this whole sub marketplace where people will see the value, they buy the cars, and then they'll do what needs to be done to make it a better wholesale car, turn around and wholesale it to another dealer. So it's really interesting what I've seen dealers be able to do with this platform you've built.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I think buyers are not as price sensitive as they like to lead on, right? Everybody thinks, I'm only going to pay MMR, or I want to buy it for $1,000 back of MMR. What's really fascinating is what I believe most buyers are looking for is a painless transaction. They want the car to show up. They want it to be as advertised, wholesale. And then they know what to do with it. They know how to sell a car. And so, especially likely just go on the front line, as opposed to a car that they think they might have gotten a good deal on and then gets torn apart in service, and they're looking at a $5,000 reconditioning bill and 4 weeks before they see the light of day on it. They would have been happier just paying, quote unquote, too much for it out of the gate and have that car go on the front line, and they go and sell it, and they make a decent little front end, and they make the back end, and they turn a trade, and life's good. So that's what dealers are really looking for, is the reduction in brain damage.
So and you're talking about, hey, and again, all these parallels, right? What does a retail customer want? Fast, simple, easy, transparent, remove the friction, remove the brain damage. What does a dealer want when they're going to acquire a wholesale car or to sell one. I don't know, fast, simple, easy, transparent, remove the friction, remove the brain damage. So what you're talking about is Dealer Club literally has the ability through that platform to remove the risk and the doubt that's normally associated with a wholesale transaction. True?
100% true.
So if I asked you this question just straight out, you tell me, you've been doing this for so long with dealers, and especially since you've started putting Dealer Club out there and have been with part of the Cars Commerce ecosystem. When you spend time with dealers, please list what are the biggest pain points that they will consistently recite that they think of when they are considering wholesaling a car.
Pain points when they're wholesaling the car. So the pain points there, I would say, is, actually, let's reframe it. Give me the biggest pain points from a dealer's perspective if they're going to wholesale a car, and their biggest pain points when they want to buy a car wholesale. Okay. So I'll start with when they're going to buy the car. Okay. And I think there's three there. All right. One is the inspectors miss things. The car shows up and it had a cracked windshield, and now if I go back and look in the photos and superimpose, zoom in, I can see the crack. How in the world did they miss this? Well, my initial answer to that is they're just people, right? And AI is going to miss these things too. Like bird poop on a car is going to not always come through perfectly, or is it paint damage? These are going to be issues that I think we're going to be dealing with for a long time. The challenge with the inspector missing things is simply that, how do you incentivize an inspector to do a perfect condition report? Quite frankly, there's just not that much in the equation for them. These are good people. They're hardworking people. And I'm not ragging on their capabilities. I miss things too. But if it's my own car, or I'm tied to that because it's my own dealership, and that inspection is a reflection of the quality that I do, and this is how Dealer Club thinks about it. The person who inspects the car is rated on their accuracy by the person that buys the car. We've closed the loop. It's not a situation where a frustrated buyer's, concerns just go off into the ether and never get tied back to if the inspector missed something. So it's inspectors missing things. A bigger issue is the seller hid something. They doctored it up, or they knew just what they could get away with that the inspector couldn't catch. The inspectors don't drive these cars, all that kind of mess. It's this notion that the car shows up, it comes off the transporter, and there's a blatant issue that you discover as the buyer, and you basically just got taken advantage of. So that's number two. And then you got to fight. You got to fight to try and reverse that injustice. Yeah, what a mess. And the other is just the fees have gotten completely out of control, and the fees are partly greed, and that's how the buyers are only going to see it. But the other part of it is just the economics required to cover the way these businesses operate, because they have too much cost within them. Now, I'm going to answer your original question, which is, what is the major pain associated with wholesaling cars? I think that most sellers aren't even aware. And that's because on the surface, it all looks easy. What you're rarely getting a glimpse of, unless you're really, really astute and following your cars, which a lot of sellers are not doing. They're taking 10, 20 cars a week, and they're just turning a blind eye to them and sending them off to an auction to go and get slaughtered. You got to look at those inspections. Those cars come in, there's nothing wrong with it, and yet the auction is saying, oh, we think that has engine noise. Well, now you've just cut the value by $5,000, and unless someone's really paying attention, that $5,000 it's this opportunity cost. It's the cost of not knowing. And what I think solves all of this, and I don't think any dealer would disagree with me, is process. And that's where we see dealers who use AccuTrade just knock it out of the park. They have a real process. The software is the enablement, but the dealership has embraced it and built a strong process around it. The same as with wholesale. Dealer Club is a tool. We're not going to fix all your problems. If you're an unscrupulous seller, if you're a lazy dealer, you're going to have problems on Dealer Club too. But if you want to strive to do the right thing and you want to build a process, the sky is the limit. Your cars are worth more. on a platform like this. It requires process. And that's when we go and look at, F&I in a dealership, and why is it that one Buick GMC store is $800 a copy in the F&I office and another is $1,600? Process.
Yeah,
right?
Process makes genius. 100%. So speaking other than October, November, so hopefully that's the case. But you talk about process. Given where we are right now, why in your brain is it more important for dealers to be sharper and to be more educated, be more disciplined with their inventory decisions?
Well, I think you're nailing all the reasons. When it's a rising tide and everybody's making money hand over fist because of an economic landscape, we get lazy, we get complacent, and we just accept things like, selling a car at an auction with an engine announcement that we didn't even know was on there, or we caught it 2 weeks later, and it is what it is. Like, when things tighten up, that's when you've got to pay attention to all these things. You got to look at your spend, but you also got to look at every area of your business. And if there's a way to do better, if there's a way to get 1,000 more per wholesale copy, and I'm not promising that Dealer Club has some magic wand. It's very simple. If buyers trust you, they'll pay more. Like, it's a fundamental. You got to believe in that, but I think we all believe in it. We see that on the retail side of the business. We strive to have trust. We strive to have a good reputation because we believe that increases the value of what we sell. We got to take that same approach to wholesale. And I think we also just have to acknowledge how big of an opportunity wholesale is. Again, talked about this before. So often wholesale is just like shoved in the corner. And it's not seen as a profit center. It's not seen as it's just like a cost of doing business. It's like doing your laundry. Nobody gets excited about that. But we should, because there's just massive opportunity there if we have the right tools and we take the right approach and we build a real process around it. And so, if retail is going to suffer because of the economic landscape, well, then it's going to suffer. But look at the other segments of your business and go, well, where can we maximize? And I've always seen wholesale being that opportunity, because there is no right price for a car in wholesale. That's the fascinating thing.
Don't you think that? I would say it this way. First of all, I believe all inventory on a used car lot is either iPhones or flip phones. Let's start there, right? Nobody ever lined up to get a new flip phone that came out, right? It's on sale the day after it comes out, and it's given away 5 of them for free 2 weeks after that. But people will line up to get an iPhone 17 when there's a perfectly good iPhone 15 in their pocket, right? So if you have the right vehicles, to your point, you become the destination. People will come find you. When you have the wrong ones, and then all of a sudden these become the cars you have to sell because they're not cars people want to buy. And if you have this, you said, hey, you can make $1,000 more if people trust you. It's true. You could also make $1,000 or $500 at least more if you sell it for the same price, but you remove $500 of the cost, can't you? It's $1,000 either way. That my second comment is, hey, I think reactional wholesale is a horrible part of the business, and it just causes you to bleed money. I was just telling a bunch of groups in this last week. This is just math. I said, but when you lose 10 grand in wholesale, guess what comes off your net? 10 grand. When you make 10 grand in gross, what goes to your net? If you're lucky, $1,000, right? Not a fair fight. So, but here's the thing. The dealers that understand that they should appraise everything, buy everything, and then just keep the iPhones, keep the ideal inventory. First of all, by appraising everything, they've got more cars to choose from. Then they pick the right cars, they keep them, and then guess what? They're not doing reactional wholesales, they're doing intentional wholesales. Isn't it funny how intentional wholesale is profitable, but reactionary wholesale is not profitable? Like, at some point, can we figure this out? And one of the things I love about your platform is it would allow me as a retailer to engage in what I refer to as intentional wholesale, which is a very profitable endeavor. So I don't know, what's your take? Do you agree with that?
I love intentional wholesale, right? I love looking at the wrong car on my lot. I love buying the wrong car for my lot. I
Yes.
love it.
Because it's the right car for
Why would
somebody else,
absolutely.
right?
And we can't be too pig-headed to think that, us letting go of a Buick when we're a Honda dealer is a bad move. Just because some other dealer is going to buy it, let some other dealer 3 states away buy it. You make your 1,000 or 2,000 on it. Satisfy that local customer that was looking to get out of that car. You check all these boxes and be okay, better than okay. Like you said, put that money right to the bottom line. It's a very powerful thing.
Well, I got just a couple more questions if it's okay. One
Yeah,
is,
of course.
how does bringing Dealer Club into that total Cars Commerce ecosystem? Think about it holistically now. How does bringing DC into Cars Commerce ecosystem help dealers to operate more efficiently across the entire inventory life cycle, from the time they acquire the car to if they choose to retail it, versus if they choose to wholesale the car?
Look, I think the simple answer here is that Cars Commerce has the dealers supported from start to finish now. They didn't before, now they do. They are a true partner to the dealer, like in a way that just like makes me feel really, really good to be a part of that team, to be there, to see what the goal is. It's not predatory at all. It's all for the dealer's benefit. Dealers who use AccuTrade are crushing it. I don't know a single dealer, I really don't, who has leaned in hard on AccuTrade. Again, setup process, right? Put the work in and is regretting it at all. Like
No.
they're doing tremendously with their buy centers. So many of these other dealers sit there and scratch their head. Like you said, I don't really know. I'm not sure if I want to hire, 2 folks to run a buy center. Like you're going to sit there and contemplate this for another, 5 years and just completely miss the opportunity. I think same goes for wholesale. If they're looking at wholesale and doing what everybody else is doing, how are they going to expect to get better results?
I agree.
And we should all be looking for better results.
I see, pretty incredible organizations, Fletcher Jones, Casa, Germain, Sheehy, Sonic, DuPont. I mean, there's a lot of organizations I know that rely on AccuTrade and the unique power of AccuTrade to help fuel the acquisition side. And now they have access to Dealer Club to complete that cycle, as you just stated. Joe, before I get you off the call and we wrap up, first car you ever owned, what was it?
A 1989 Honda Civic hatchback I bought for $50.
I'm guessing you made $49 or more when you wholesaled that.
I sold it retail, if you want to call it that, for $900. So that was a nice little win.
Boom. Well, that will pull you into the car business big time.
Sure did.
Joe, do me a favor and just be so kind. Indulge me. Finish the sentence. I love the car business because.
Oh man, it's just a land of opportunity. It continues to reinvent itself. But I think the fundamentals stay true, and that is, doing right prevails. Being a good operator, being an honest person in the car business pays dividends. A lot of people that come in and out of this business because the barrier to entry is relatively low, and it looks like there's a lot of money for everybody to make. But the truth of the matter is, the good guys win in this business, and I just love to see that. So that's my long-winded answer to your question.
I love it. It was perfect. I mean, I really think it's an industry like no other. Joe Neiman, wishing you all the best. Looking forward to seeing you, Alex, and the whole Cars team at NADA 2026 in Las Vegas. Wishing you a very happy holiday season for you and your wonderful family. And I want to thank you again for taking the time to spend with me today and just to be able to deal with my raging curiosity.
David, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
It's just such a pleasure to speak with you. Wishing you and the Dealer Club team all the best. Thanks for taking the time, and for everybody who took the time to join us today. I hope you learned as much as I did, got as much as I did. If you want to share this episode to anybody that would love to join some of those premier used car dealership operations, you could go to davidspisak.com, and in the show notes, you'll learn how to connect with Joe. You could get a connection to Dealer Club from there, and you could learn more about how they are helping dealers with that first day exit strategy. And I want to thank you. Please also take the time to share the episode with anybody who wants to learn more about being a absolutely spectacular used car operator. And by all means, please take the time to subscribe and leave a review, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I truly, genuinely appreciate them all. Thanks so much for taking the time to take the time to hang with Joe and myself. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time on the David Spisak Show. Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.